reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
What's up, everybody? A very happy Tuesday. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for joining us. We certainly have some big announcements to make today on the show. We'll get to that. Eva Chase is going to be joining us in hour number 2. And, the hush money trial with Stormy Daniels on the stand is certainly some salacious details about their sexcapades. But more importantly, does it rise to the level of criminality? And we'll talk about that. Dave Pollock from the Dave Pollock Show, right-wing conservative, staunch Trump supporter, is going to make the case why Donald Trump should not go to jail for breaking these gag orders. You have all these people on the far right that are defending Donald Trump or saying that if he does go to jail, it's going to help him. It's going to help his campaign. It's going to help his support. So we'll talk to David Pollock coming up here in just a few minutes about that. I have a big programming note for you. Some exciting news. We have some big guests coming on the show tomorrow. I've been wanting to get this guy on the show for a very long time. He's running for president of the United States. I agree with him, actually, on a lot of issues. I don't agree with him on some of his vaccine stances, but I've been wanting to talk to him for a long time. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow, so I'm really looking forward to that. And another big guest after Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in studio, our own Attorney General in the great state of Nevada, Aaron Ford, is going to be joining us. And if you remember, it was Ford who indicted 5 people in this alleged fake electorate scheme. So we'll talk to him a little bit about that. So 2 big guests tomorrow, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Aaron Ford. And I will be taking questions on social media for people out there that want to come up with some questions that you think I should ask Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or our Attorney General, Aaron Ford. Ford's going to be in studio and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to be through Zoom, which is great. So certainly looking forward to that. I want to get right into this before we talk to David Pollock, and we're going to be talking to David Pollock about why he feels like Trump shouldn't go to jail if he keeps breaking these gag orders for the 11th, 12th, 13th time. We'll get to that conversation with him, but I want to talk about the breaking news and the Stormy Daniels testimony. We did learn something that's maybe might be important to some. The right-wing evangelicals probably won't be talking about Stormy Daniels' testimony. Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Mark Levin, these despicable human beings, they won't be talking about Stormy Daniels' testimony. No, the right-wing evangelicals will just disappear. They want to talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. But we have learned a lot thus far, and she's still on the stand, by the way, Stormy Daniels. This might be important to some of you. It's not that important to me, but it's kind of funny. Stormy Daniels did say that the sexual position that Donald Trump enjoyed was missionary. So maybe he's trying to appease to the right-wing evangelicals on that one. I don't know. She had a conversation and she met Ben Roethlisberger, also known as Ben Rapistberger. Big Ben, and Donald Trump, 2 rapists, seem to spend time with one another, I guess. I don't know. She had that conversation. She talks about how she wanted to maintain a sort of relationship with Trump because she wanted to be on The Apprentice, and Donald Trump promised her an appearance on The Apprentice. She says after Donald Trump's Access Hollywood tape came out in 2016, that's when she said she had conversations with her publicist about selling the story. The $130,000 agreement, Daniels said that Trump and Cohen offered her $130,000 for her story, adding the agreement was a non-disclosure agreement which benefited Trump. Daniels said she wanted it done quickly. She said if it wasn't done before the election, I wouldn't be safe, or that he wouldn't pay and there would be a trail to keep me safe. She also says he rarely ever talked about his family, and really the only thing he ever said about Melania Trump was that, and this was 20 years ago, that he wasn't sleeping even in the same room with his wife at the time. She exited the courtroom taking a break. She didn't even look at Donald Trump. And now the defense attorneys in this case are saying they want a mistrial because a lot of this stuff should be inadmissible and there's no chance in proving whether Daniels is telling the truth or not. Daniels also said that she was not paid on October 14th, 2016, like she was supposed to. She said she didn't know why it was late. And when she says he just kept making excuses, she was talking about, at the time, Donald Trump's attorney, Michael Cohen. She said it wasn't a financial delay, so it made me more concerned that something bad was going to happen. And if it wasn't done before the election, it was never going to happen, Daniels went on to say. She said she signed her real name on the side letter agreement that used fake names in this non-disclosure. She also said that she wanted the agreement done quickly because she was concerned about the threats. This is a woman that got death threats, right? In Las Vegas, back in 2011, I believe it was, Stormy Daniels said that she was in a supermarket parking lot and her life was threatened by somebody right here in Las Vegas. I believe her. She also said that it was Trump and Cohen that offered her the $130,000 payment. She said she didn't care about the amount. She said at the time her financial situation was best it's ever been. She says the agreement was a non-disclosure agreement and that Trump was the beneficiary of the NDA. After she learned that Trump was not putting her on The Apprentice, she said contact with Donald Trump was no longer there. They weren't really talking anymore. She said she learned that Trump and Cohen were interested in buying her story after the Access Hollywood tape went out as well. And she says her motivation, though, was not money. She said that her then publicist, Gina Rodriguez's focus was to sell her story to news outlets. She asked if she thought about approaching Trump himself or Cohen to have them pay for the story, and Daniels said no. She said, my motivation was not money. It was to get the story out. Testimony is going to be resuming. You know, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about this. And even if you're one of those people, and there's plenty of you out there, MAGA supporters, that don't care whether Donald Trump is a convicted felon or not, don't care much about this case. My question to you is this. Forget about criminality, about possibly falsifying business records, election interference, hiding this from the public, misappropriating funds, whatever the case may be. If you don't think this is a legitimate case, put that aside for a moment. What about the behavior? What about the behavior? Here's a man whose wife, Melania, just had a baby, and he's having unprotected sex with a porn star, and we know he had at least another relationship, God knows how many others, with McDougal, who he paid $150,000 to. What about the behavior? You call yourself good, wholesome Christians. I don't care how much you hate Joe Biden. I don't care how much you hate his policies. What about the behavior? Forget about whether you think this is a sham trial or not, which, by the way, I don't believe it is. Forget about that for a moment. Ask yourself that very basic question. What about Donald Trump's behavior? Is this the guy that you think should be leading the country again? Now, I know many of you that are MAGA supporters had many issues with Bill Clinton receiving oral sex in the White House from Monica Lewinsky. And yes, Bill Clinton did lie about it. It's why he was impeached. But there was no criminality there. But forget about the criminality aspect of this case. Where are you on this case? You were up in arms when Bill Clinton lied. You were up in arms when Bill Clinton used the Oval Office to cheat on Hillary Clinton. Where are you now? Because you can't have a problem with Bill Clinton's sexcapades when he was in the White House and not have a problem with this behavior. I understand Donald Trump wasn't in the White House back then. I get it. But what about the behavior? And then 2 weeks before an election, trying to hide it from the American public. What do you think about the behavior? It's funny, I don't hear a lot of MAGA Republicans talking about that, are they? They're not. What about the behavior? So yes, I personally believe that if you continue to break a gag order, if you continue to attack a judge, attack the judge's daughter, attack jurors, making statements that 95% of the jurors are Democrats, which, by the way, there's no evidence that that's true. It's not just about tarnishing a trial. It's not just about that. That's one element of this, right? And you could be saying to yourself, Brian, how could any of his statements change a verdict? Well, if you're constantly attacking jurors and saying it's 95% Democrats out there, then you're insinuating that they're going to find Donald Trump guilty because of their political affiliation. After the trial is over, let's just say Donald Trump is convicted. If I'm a juror, I'm in fear for my life because I'm going to know that because of Donald Trump's statements, there's crazy people out there and they might come after me. That's another side to this that could change the outcome of a trial because of Donald Trump's comments. A gag order is put in place for a lot of different reasons, but one of them to protect the jurors and to protect people presiding in the case, whether it be attorneys or jurors or the judge. Donald Trump has never been told no in his life. He's had yes men around him his entire life. He now is to be held to account. Now, whether you think it's going to be good for Donald Trump or bad for Donald Trump if he goes to jail is beside the point. The bottom line is Donald Trump shouldn't be above the law. If that was you or me, how do you think this would play out if we broke a gag order 10 times? We'd be thrown in jail. So you could think what you want about the case. You could think what you want about how you think it's illegitimate or it's George Soros or it's Joe Biden, which it's not. It's a two-tier justice system. You could think that until the cows come home, right? But the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, is that Donald Trump is not above the law. The bottom line is that when a gag order is put in place, it's meant to not be broken. Whether this benefits Donald Trump or not is beside the point. You can't continually break a gag order. And I don't like Judge Merchant's, I don't like his statements that he made in the courtroom yesterday. The last thing I want to do is put a former president in jail that could possibly be the next president. I don't like those statements because the fact that Donald Trump is a former president or could be the next president should have no bearing on the law, in my personal opinion, when it comes to breaking a gag order. I didn't like the judge's comments in the courtroom yesterday. Do I think he's going to send Donald Trump to jail? No, I don't. But how many more times is Donald Trump going to test this judge? How many more times is going to break a gag order? There are laws in this country that are not supposed to be broken. And if you break the laws, there are consequences. And fining Donald Trump $10,000 is nothing. That is nothing. So do I think he's going to break the gag order again? Absolutely. Yes, I do. I think he's going to break the gag order. I absolutely do. What do I think the judge is going to do about it? Probably fine him. Probably fine him. I really don't know what else to say. That would be my best guess, is probably fine him, but I don't know. Here's what I do know. Stormy Daniels' testimony today, and it continues, by the way, her testimony today not helping Donald Trump. Is it embarrassing Donald Trump? Yes. Is there proving that there's some criminality aspect to this? Yes. Why? Because we know that the reason why Donald Trump and Michael Cohen put this scheme together to pay Stormy Daniels was not because he cared whether his wife found out about it. It's not because he cared if any of his family members found out about it. The reason why, and the only reason why Donald Trump paid Stormy Daniels $130,000, and make no mistake about it, because he thought that it could affect the 2016 elections. Hence, election interference. That is exactly why he did what he did. That's why. Very, very simple. So here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. There are people on the far right that disagree with me. There are people on the far right that don't think he deserves to go to jail. There are people on the far right that think this trial is a sham. David Pollock is a staunch right-wing conservative talk show host. He is also a big Donald Trump supporter. He is going to be joining us next. We are going to get into it. You know we are going to disagree, and it's going to be a good debate. You're not going to want to miss it. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. You know, no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fund account and stay progressive.
Residents of Las Vegas, Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your people's choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I'm committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com or by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, programming note for you. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. Looking forward to talking with him. I've been wanting to interview him for a very long time. I've met him in person a couple times, but getting him on the show tomorrow, big deal. And our own Attorney General, the current Attorney General of the state of Nevada, Aaron Ford, is going to be joining us in studio. So a couple big guests for tomorrow. We've been talking about the hush money case and the hush money trial, and I wanted to get somebody on the other side of this issue to get their perspective, and somebody that I always enjoy having on the show. He is the host of the David Pollock Show, does a good job, and I appreciate David taking the time to join us on the show today. David, it's good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I was driving back from Tampa, and so I pulled over to the side of the road here to make sure I make the show. So
I'm glad you're doing that. I'm glad you're safe, and I can hear you loud and clear, David. Thank you so much for coming on. All right, so let me ask you this question to start. What are your thoughts on this trial as a whole to begin with? I know that Stormy Daniels testified today, and I'll ask you about that. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this trial as a whole?
Well, I'm going to joke and say it's salacious. I've heard the media say the word salacious probably 3,000 times. If it was a drinking game, I'd be passed out on the floor, probably dead. Every 30 seconds, it's salacious. The testimony today was salacious, tawdry and salacious. I'm like, oh my God, guys, get a thesaurus or something and find a word other than salacious. But yeah, so the salacious trial. Look, I know we talked about this last time. I think this was the case that I think people wish wasn't brought. I think at the end of the day, I do think there's a good chance of Trump getting convicted. And I've said that from day one, just because I don't believe it. I don't trust this whole process. And I think we even exchanged words on X about this whole thing. This is a bad case. The falsification of business records, I understand how they're trying to craft a legal argument, but they're not going to be able to prove that case, not to withstand an appeal. And I don't want to, I'm trying not to go too far into it, but the basics of it is the prosecution's theory of the case is that Trump basically committed a campaign violation by misnaming a payment, hush money payment, to Stormy Daniels and others, called them a legal expense versus a campaign finance expense, which it wouldn't have been because it's not allowed to be an expense in hush money payments. So they're basically trying to suggest that these felonies that he committed were based on an election law violation that doesn't actually exist and then nobody brought, and they're using that to take a misdemeanor business records violation, make it a felony. And if you just had the business records violations alone, it would be beyond the statute of limitations. The biggest problem is
Let me ask you a question, though. Yeah, let me ask you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you, but because
Sure.
that's a lot you said there. Some I agree with, some I disagree. Some I agree, some I disagree. No, that's okay. That's all right. No, you're good. This is why I wanted you. This is why I wanted you on. I wanted to hear your perspective. So aside from the business records and the possible felonies that were broken there, whether we agree or not on that,
Sure.
What about the fact that every witness that has testified so far has basically said this wasn't about his family, it wasn't about Melania or his family. This was about keeping this from the American public 2 weeks before an election. Wouldn't you call that the definition of election interference? This wasn't about his family.
No,
it was
that's
about him.
But that's not a crime. I mean, politicians do it all the time. You pay people. Go back to the Clintons. They literally had an entire task force of people that buried stories. They paid people money. They say, hey, listen, this would be embarrassing. We're going to give you all this money, sign a non-disclosure agreement, which is a legal expense. And you say, look, we're not going to talk about this because it's embarrassing. They do it in the private sector. They do it in politics. People get paid to keep their mouth shut about embarrassing things.
Okay, so if that's true, if that's true, let me ask you another question. And this is a different question. Let's forget about the criminality, which we might agree or disagree on.
Right.
And I said this in my opening remarks today. What about the behavior, David? I mean, I understand that's not a crime, but for people like yourself that are still supporting this guy, what about the behavior of this guy?
That's a great point, and I'm glad you brought it up because that is literally what this case is about, which is why it should have been a mistrial today, honestly, after the Stormy Daniels testimony, which we'll get to later. This whole case is about his character. You can't, but just because somebody's not a good guy doesn't mean you put him in jail. Doesn't mean you find a reason to get him off the ballot because you don't want him to be president. I think is the most offensive thing about all of this. You can't go and try to allege that somebody committed a crime with the purpose of just embarrassing somebody. And that's what's
so I get that,
case, which is why it's so
David,
David,
I get that's your position.
Sure.
But my question to you is, I think you're a good guy. You seem like a nice guy. You seem like a character guy. I'm asking you personally, what about Donald Trump's behavior? Forget about the possible criminality or the fact that you don't think there's any criminality here. My question is, again, how can you support this guy after knowing, look at this guy's behavior. This is the guy you want to be the leader of the free world?
Look, I've paid attention to politics most of my life from the time I was first started understanding them. I don't look to my politicians, my representatives, as my leaders. I don't assume that anybody who gets elected, especially working in the world of politics, I know very few politicians that are good people. It's just the nature. You have a lot of ego-driven people who do a lot of shady things, and in politics and in business. You always find people that I don't necessarily share a lot of values with. That being said, I don't think Donald Trump is any different, unfortunately, than a lot of our elected leaders, but I think his policies are fantastic. And that's why I support Donald Trump. I think his policies are better for America than Joe Biden's policies. It's as simple as that, regardless of how I feel about President Trump's moral character.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, where there's a lot of politicians out there that maybe do some shady things. but you would characterize it as many other politicians don't do things much differently. This is, I mean, do I have to go through the list of the statements he's made about POWs and Gold Star families and women? You don't.
Yeah.
I
He
mean,
says offensive shit, stuff. He says offensive stuff. And
can you name me? Can you name me somebody, a politician in office today that's a liable sexual abuser that's had 26 women that have accused him of sexual assault or rape, including his ex-wife? Is there one person in office today that has that record on the books?
There was a woman out of California who accused a Supreme Court justice nominee of a sexual assault and rape. People make accusations all the time with very famous people, and especially
but being liable, being liable, found liable by a jury of his peers is not just an allegation, though, right?
Well, he was liable for a civil crime. He was never committed of
sexual
any
battery,
criminal
correct?
Right, and it was a civil case. A lot of people question the way that case went forward. There is still appeals in process with all of these cases. It's just going to take a long time. But one has nothing to do with the other. All of this is designed, again, to distract from what is actually happening in our country and with the disastrous policies of Joe Biden, and to keep everybody focused on the character of Donald Trump. But if you look at the polling, people are not that concerned about it. It's not just David Pollock. A lot of people are concerned about the direction of the country. And so you can distract people, not you, but people can distract people all day long with Donald Trump's character and, oh, he's such a bad guy, and look at all these things people are accusing him of. But if you look at the world around us, look what's happening on college campuses and across the world with the violence and the wars. And if you look what's happening, and I don't even want to mention the E word because I know we'll get into a debate on it, the economy. But if you look around, things are not going well. And most Americans acknowledge this. And so I don't care right now about Donald Trump might not being the best guy in the world or being accused of whatever. What I care about is the direction we need to head in if we're going to save this country. And
all right, well,
let's not continue this.
Let's talk about that. Do you blame Joe Biden for what violence are you referring to? And
on college campuses,
so when the Black Lives Matter protests were going on under Donald Trump and people were burning down buildings and assaulting police officers, did you blame Donald Trump for that?
Donald Trump wasn't burning down neighborhoods or assaulting.
Joe Biden isn't burning. Joe Biden isn't protesting either.
No, but it's Democrat policies, and this is what's so shocking to me. For a party that accuses all Donald Trump and other Republicans of being anti-Semitic, I don't understand how these liberal universities, you have the administration joining arms and encouraging these demonstrations where Jewish students are being kept from being able to enter buildings, being attacked. I mean, this is what's happening on college campuses, on liberal college campuses.
Why is that Joe Biden's fault? Did you hear Joe Biden's comments today?
Yeah, well, Joe Biden's comments are hollow because it's the policies that he has in place and the politics of the left that are encouraging these.
What policies has Joe Biden put in place that you think has led to anti-Semitism in this country?
The having his United Nations representative abstain from a vote calling for a ceasefire at the United Nations, not being steadfast in the support of Israel. Anytime there's
he's given more money to Israel than any other president's ever.
He's also given more money to Iran, the largest state sponsor of terror.
All that money has been frozen, and that so.
The cash has been frozen. The cash has found itself in the hands of our enemies across. Where do you think the Hamas has been emboldened to attack? Where do you think
there's no question
encouraged to do that?
There's no question. There's no question that Iran has helped fund Hamas, and they're an evil regime. I'm not going to deny that one bit. All I'm simply saying is, and I guess my only point, David, is that we had a lot of bad things that happened under the Trump administration as well. And I didn't blame Donald Trump for Black Lives Matter protests. I didn't blame Donald Trump for COVID. And I certainly don't blame Joe Biden for some anti-Semitic idiots that are on campuses throughout the country. And we agree. I think some of the universities and the leadership at some of these universities is an embarrassment to the country. I'm with you 100%. Ilhan Omar is an embarrassment. Rashida Tlaib is an embarrassment. They should not be in office. But I'm not going to blame Joe Biden for protests that are taking place throughout the country. People are allowed to peacefully protest, and those that are not should go to jail. And the universities have not, many universities and the leaders at the universities have not handled it correctly. But I just feel like when things go wrong under the Trump administration, it's not Trump's fault, it's the Democrats. But when things go wrong that have no direct correlation to Joe Biden, somehow it's Joe Biden's fault.
Joe Biden is the leader of the Democrat Party, as Democrat president of the United States, and it's Democrat policies that are encouraging these protests, and they're not even protests really what they are, and they're not even students. And that's I think probably one of the more disappointing things about this too, is that there are some students involved. But if you go and if you see some of these interviews, they'll admit they're not students of the university. They're coming to other
A
people's
lot of them are
universities.
agitators.
They're setting up tents. They're causing problems. It's the same
Right.
Antifa type element, but
Right.
they feel emboldened by policies that are harmful to the Jewish community from a party that supposedly represents the party that's supposed to protect Jewish people. So I have a problem with that. I don't remember a time when Trump was president and he was called being an anti-Semite. I don't remember a time when Donald Trump was president where Jews were as at risk as they are right now in the United States. So yeah, I blame the Democrats for that, and Joe Biden, as the leader of the Democratic Party, takes the blame, in my opinion.
Well, like I said, every hate crime that's committed, I don't blame the president. But if you look this up under the Donald Trump administration, hate crimes were up, I believe, 32%, if I'm not mistaken, in the 4 years that Donald Trump was president. But I didn't go on the air and blame Donald Trump for that. I do think his hate speech and sometimes incitement certainly doesn't help. But I am glad that hopefully there's some sort of ceasefire that's going to be put in place here. But going back, and if you're just joining us, he is David Pollock from the David Pollock Show. Going back to Donald Trump, I know that we fundamentally disagree on whether there's criminality in this case or not.
Sure.
The problem, and you're an attorney, I guess the issue that I have is, why is it that if Donald Trump is a convicted felon, it must have been a Democrat jury, it must have been unfair. But if it's a not guilty verdict, wow, they did a great job and it was fair.
Listen, I as a lawyer, and I'm going to tell you, and you can listen to it. I actually have never met a single lawyer other than the prosecution team and Alvin Bragg, maybe Letitia James, but I've never met them. I don't know any lawyer that's looking at this case and thinks that what's happening in this case is good. I mean, just the mere fact that Stormy Daniels was on the stand today has very little probative value for the. I mean, nobody denied that the payment occurred. That's not what's at issue.
Well,
So
Donald Trump did. Donald Trump did when he was asked on a plane when he was president. He lied.
That doesn't matter, though. They don't have to prove. The prosecution doesn't have to prove whether or not an affair occurred or they had any relationship. The prosecution has to prove that Donald Trump knowingly falsified a business record. They're bringing in Stormy Daniels to show the intent and saying he was so embarrassed by it, that's why he falsified the record. But you don't need Stormy Daniels to testify about the nature of their relationship, because it is already a stated fact that this payment was made to silence the story, whether or not it happened. The question is whether or not calling it a legal expense versus something else was an intentional falsification of the record. And the testimony of Stormy Daniels today was so prejudicial that I don't know how they don't have a mistrial at this point. The judge himself even said the testimony was problematic. That Access Hollywood tape, zero probative value to this case, admitted. Stormy Daniels' testimony, zero probative value to show that Donald Trump knowingly falsified a business record. So all these things are made to embarrass him, to damage his character in front of a jury. Well, if they got a conviction, it would be overturned in 5 seconds.
Well, first of all, I think he's embarrassed himself with his conduct, quite frankly, and he does that every single day.
But we don't put people in jail for that.
No, I'm not saying that, but not saying that. But I'm saying the reason, at least what the prosecution is saying, the reason why Stormy Daniels is testifying is showing how the payments were made, threats that she received, pressure, and did Donald Trump do this because he didn't want people to know about it? Or did he do it because he didn't want his family to know about it? So I think while I agree with you that a lot of this testimony was salacious, I'll use that word.
Salacious.
And a lot of the testimony probably embarrassing Donald Trump. By the way, that's his fault because this is his behavior. There is some important parts of this testimony where I think a lot of attorneys would agree that there are parts of it that are important. Michael Cohen's going to testify. He was the fixer. He's the guy who went to jail. The guy who ran the National Enquirer testified.
What did he go to jail for?
For lying.
And this is our star witness.
Well, he's not the only
horrible case.
He's not the only witness that's testifying. As you know, the guy from the National Enquirer testified as well, among others. And there's going to be more people.
Hold on, let's talk about that. The guy from the National Enquirer, that when I grew up, there was like 3-headed aliens. That's his publication. Your next witness is a porn star who lost a defamation suit against President Trump. We talk about civil lawsuits that people lose. She lost that lawsuit for defamation against President Trump. And then you have a convicted liar as your other witness.
Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? This is the guy that you will vote for. He said he hires only the best people. This is the guy's judgment. You're voting for him.
I would argue he doesn't hire the best people. I'll agree
well,
with you on that.
I would agree with you on that. But these are the types of people that he has surrounded himself with. Almost everybody that he has surrounded himself is either a convicted felon or either has completely turned against him, including his vice president, who's not supporting him. Don't you see a pattern here? Everybody that spends time around Donald Trump either files for bankruptcy. They could be the MyPillow idiot or Rudy Giuliani, or they go to jail, or Navarro's sitting in jail right now. How many people around Joe Biden have gone to jail? How many people that have...
That's a problem in and of itself, though. How many? You're on my steering wheel and I hit it. And I'm not driving. That's the problem in and of itself, though. How many people in Trump's orbit have been sent to jail for what?
For breaking the law.
Lying to the FBI.
You probably shouldn't do that.
Congress. All of these BS crimes that... Listen, Hunter Biden showed up, and I don't want to play what-ifism.
Hunter Biden doesn't work in Joe Biden's administration.
It doesn't matter. He still showed up in front of Congress and said, I'm not going to testify. He could have been charged with a crime if they wanted to charge him with a crime, and everybody in his circle. The difference is everybody in Donald Trump's orbit, they have gone after. They've gone after General Flynn. They've gone after people like Navarro, George Papadopoulos. You can go on and on and on about people in Trump's circle that they've targeted the FBI. Instead of the FBI actually going to these college campuses and targeting the terrorists that are inciting violence in the United States. That's what the FBI should be doing and not throwing Trump associates in jail. I can't look at the people around Trump who have been indicted because they're in Trump's orbit as justification for what you're saying about Trump only surrounding himself with felons.
Again, I just say Hunter Biden never worked. He's never a politician, never worked in Joe Biden's administration. He's also been indicted, by the way, and been investigated by the FBI. So I think that's kind of important to note. And number two, I would say maybe don't break the law. Maybe don't commit crimes. Maybe don't put forth a fake electorate scheme. You have all these people that are now going to be testifying against Donald Trump. Don't break the law. Do your job. And then you're not going to be indicted. And then you're not going to be facing what Donald Trump is facing today. And if the point that people on the right are making are, well, they're just trying to embarrass Donald Trump. No, Donald Trump has embarrassed himself with all the cheating and all the lying and his behavior. Is that criminal? Is that a crime? We'll wait and have to see what the jury says on this. The point I go back to what I said earlier. You can disagree with the outcome if, in fact, Donald Trump is going to be a convicted felon. And I think we both agree he's probably going to be convicted. But if that's the outcome, that's the outcome. And I know it's not going to change people's minds, which is mind-boggling to me, by the way, that anybody hates Joe Biden that much that they would rather vote for a convicted felon. But people are entitled to their opinions. I would imagine that's yours.
It's not personal to hating Joe Biden. I don't hate Joe Biden. I hate his policies. I hate what's happened to this country in the last 3 years. And under Donald Trump, the country was doing better. These are your choices. Now, I'm really excited you have RFK coming on your show. That is really, by the way, that's freaking awesome. I love that guy. I think we do need viable. I'm still voting for Trump, obviously, but I think we need viable third parties in this country. I think RFK is the most viable third party candidate we've probably had in my entire lifetime. He'll probably end up with 14% of the vote, which is still better than what most third party candidates get.
Maybe.
But we'll see. But at the end of the day, if I have to choose between Joe Biden and Donald Trump's policies win all day long. And I think for most Americans, and if you look at polling, they agree. People are hurting under this president. They're not happy with his policies. They have not benefited. Inflation is still ticking up. Last time we spoke, we thought inflation was leveling off. It's still ticking up. The Fed is not lowering interest rates. I mean, this is not in the direction that anybody feels good about anymore.
I mean, I have this conversation with a lot of people. It's different what people feel and what actually is happening. In all the countries that we compare ourselves to, inflation is way down compared to other economies in other countries. When you look at the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years, and by the way, if the excuse is, well, those are just COVID jobs, not true. Unemployment is lower now than it was before COVID. If we look at manufacturing jobs, we can go on and talk about the accomplishments of Joe Biden. He's not a perfect president. I would never claim that. But
what are the accomplishments? Like, what has he done?
CHIPS and Science Act, a bipartisan infrastructure bill, the first gun legislation bills, new bills that were put on the books in decades and decades, helping our brave men and women in uniform with the issues that they have when it comes to these burn pits, working with Jon Stewart, putting a bipartisan bill together that, by the way, Republicans voted against, which was the border bill. There's plenty of things that you can say, lowering the cost of insulin. I'm a diabetic, capping it at $35, which is something that Donald Trump said he was going to do, which he never did. They complained about Obamacare and they said they had a replacement plan. We never saw that replacement plan. So I believe Joe Biden can run on his record. Is he too old? Probably yes. Would I like to see somebody else a little younger in office? Yes. I am with the 80 or 70% of the country that doesn't want to see Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. But when you have a guy that is attacking our democracy on a daily basis, still lying, by the way, about the 2020 election, because the guy can't admit to losing anything. When you have a guy that attacks POWs, that calls our brave men and women suckers and losers, who dodged the military, who's got 20 plus women that have accused him of sexual assault or rape, a proven liable sexual abuser, I put that over policy. I could disagree with every single policy, which I don't, by the way, in the Joe Biden administration. But I cannot support a man like Donald Trump, who's, by the way, not a man, in my opinion. He's a petulant child. We just vote differently, but that's just my position.
And I respect that, and I understand that. I think from my experience right now, the country is just not feeling warm and fuzzy about Joe Biden, whether it's the age or whether it's the perception of things. You talk about people's feelings versus the facts. The perception is reality, though, in politics, and people are going to vote a certain way. And I don't think, and if you look at all the polling in the Black community, the Hispanic community, just all of the groups where Joe Biden polled so much better in 2020, he's polling way behind the way he performed in 2020.
Here's what I would say to that. You know, all the polls suggested Hillary Clinton was going to win in 2016, and I bought into that. I bought into that. So we have a lot of time left, 5 or 6 months. I am not going to sit here and say it's going to be a landslide victory. I think it's going to be very close. And I think it's going to come down to a couple very key issues. Probably not what happens in the Stormy Daniels hush money case. I think abortion is a very, very big issue. I think if Joe Biden could get up there on a debate stage and just not hurt himself, just be even keel, I think that would be big for Joe Biden. And, you know, I don't know who Donald Trump is going to pick as his vice president, but I got to tell you right now, if it's Tim Scott, that guy is a complete embarrassment. Did you see him on TV over the weekend? You know, if it's Stefanik or Tim Scott, that's not going to help Donald Trump. I think you need somebody more middle of the road. But again, we'll have to wait and see what happens. David, last question, okay? Sure. Because I'm going to be talking about this next, and I really do appreciate your time. We'll let you get back on the road.
I love being here.
I love having you on. So the gag orders, I wanted to talk to you about this.
Sure.
Trump has broken the gag orders over 10 times. Mm-hmm. My friend Joe Walsh, who does this show all the time, he thinks this could help Donald Trump if he actually is sent to jail for breaking these gag orders. If that was you or me, we would be in jail already. Do you agree with me that, you know, Trump isn't above the law, and if there's a gag order, he shouldn't break them?
Well, if it were you and me, we wouldn't be charged with this, because obviously we all, at least I believe, and people on my side, and probably a lot of people not necessarily on my side, believe that this case is only here because he's Donald Trump and because he's running for president. But that being said, he is the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party. He has to campaign. And he's being basically told that he can't talk about things when everybody else in the trial is allowed to go on media and say whatever salacious or disparaging things they want about President Trump, and he's not allowed to go and talk about it. So, yeah, I'd be violating the gag order, in my opinion, is unconstitutional.
Yeah, but so, David, can you name me anybody else that's going after the judge's daughter? Can you name me somebody else that's going after the jury? I mean, you know this. You're an attorney. You can't go after the jury and say, oh, well, they're all Democrats, because then not only could that persuade members of the jury to vote a certain way because, you know, what Trump is saying, but then we're talking about their security and their families after the case. If there's a guilty verdict, they're going to worry about their safety. Going after the judge's daughter, come on, David, you know you shouldn't be allowed to do that. You know that.
Bringing up relevant information that shows a biased judge, I don't think is out of the bounds. But that being said, these jurors hopefully aren't actually seeing anything Trump is saying because they're supposed to be protected from any of that.
But David, you know, if there's a crazy person out there that's hearing this from Donald Trump, and by the way, there's no evidence that 95% of the jury are a bunch of Democrats. He doesn't know that. He's taking that out of his ass like he always does outside the courtroom, bitching and complaining about how cold it is in there, Mr. Victim. Meanwhile, this was the guy that went on a tour talking about sleepy Joe Biden, and this guy's sleeping in the courtroom. Right-wing reporters are admitting that he was sleeping in the courtroom. So
he said he was just closing his beautiful blue eyes.
That might be true. Well, David, listen, man, I always appreciate it when you come on and you state your case, and I like a good spirited debate. And drinks on me whenever you're out here in Vegas, my man. The David Pollock Show, check it out. And David, you're a great guest. I always appreciate you when you come on, sir. You drive safe out there.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate
We'll talk soon. Thanks for having me.
You too. Take care. David Pollock, everybody. Agree with some of the things he said? Agree with some of the things he said? We're going to take some calls next. I got people on social media that are saying, open up the phone lines, open up the phone lines. Okay, I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to open up the phone lines. We've talked about a lot of things on this show. The Hudson case. Your thoughts on David Pollock's remarks. Number to call, 702-221-7283. And I ask you all this question. Is Donald Trump above the law? Do you agree with David that doesn't matter how many times he breaks a gag order, he shouldn't go to jail? What do you think of Stormy Daniels' testimony today? Does it hurt Donald Trump? Does it help Donald Trump from a criminality standpoint? We know it embarrasses him, but is there criminality there? We'll talk about that when we come back as well. Again, that number to call is 702-221-7283. That number, 702-221-SAVE, is the number to call. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with your phone calls on the other side. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fund account and stay progressive.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your people's choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Please support the people who support us on this show, besides all of you listening in at Pioneer Air. I got to tell you, I was blasting my air conditioning yesterday. It's getting hot outside, especially here in Las Vegas. No better place than Pioneer Air. You know, your air conditioning system, it's like your car in a sense that, you know, you need an oil change, right? Every 3,000 or 4,000 miles, you need to check your air conditioning service at least once or twice a year. You're going to get it for free. If you call in this number right now and mention the name of the show, you're going to get, it's a $150 value. They come to your home and they check your air conditioning service for free. Call Pioneer Air, mention the name of the show, 702-703-6346, 702-703-6346, info at pioneerairlv.com. Check it out, Pioneer Air, a new frontier in clean air. We've been talking about the Stormy Daniels hush money case and Donald Trump breaking all these gag orders. Is he above the law? Is this a nonsense case, as my guest, David Pollock, just pretty much told you? He thinks this whole case in New York is a complete joke. Funny, what about all the other cases and all the other felonies that Donald Trump is facing? I don't think it's a joke at all. I think it's kind of funny that Stormy Daniels went on the stand and talked about which sexual position that Donald Trump enjoys. That's not against the law, but I think that since Donald Trump likes the missionary position, I think a lot of the evangelical right will like him even more for that. Taking your phone calls at 702-221-7283. Let's start off with Mark. Mark, what's going on?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Good, Mark. What's on your mind, man?
Hey, Dave, you know, I'm with you, man, you know, about the age, but, I kind of blew off when Trump claimed he beat Obama in 2016. I kind of just blew that away. I blew that off as a joke.
Right.
So blew off the fact that when he looked at a picture, he claimed it was his wife, when in actuality it was the woman he raped in that department store. I blew that off too as a joke. You know, he was just joking around. But you know, his policies, Dave, that I really love about Trump. The policies I really love is that he gave these huge tax breaks to corporations and the 1% wealthy, adding $8 trillion to the national debt. I love that policy. But the policy that really hits home for me, Dave, the policy that's really good is that when I saw infants and babies being ripped from their mothers' and fathers' arms and being thrown in cages and having tinfoil blankets on them. Yeah. And Department of Health claimed that they were malnutrition, they weren't getting any care, and they were all sleeping in dirty diapers. I love that policy, Dave. How about you, bro?
Yeah. Well, you know what, Mark? You make a lot of good points there, and those are the policies that MAGA supporters either are uneducated on or they simply just don't want to bring that up. The idea that Donald Trump's policies were all so great and we were just in a wonderful place. It's interesting, though, because when David brings up how he believes Joe Biden is responsible for these university protests, which I think is absurd, by the way. Then I bring up all those Black Lives Matter protests, some of which turned violent under the Trump administration. But that's not Donald Trump's fault, right? That's not his fault at all.
One more thing, Brian. One more thing.
Yep.
Dave, did you inject bleach into your arms when Trump said that could be a good thing?
Yeah. Oh, but Mark,
Mark,
he was just joking. He was just joking, Mark, even though nobody in the room was laughing.
That's
yeah.
right. He was joking behind his podium over there. Yeah, I get it.
You know what else is a joke?
In fact,
you know what else is a joke?
Poison control.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Finish. Go ahead.
The Poison Control Center increased in people being poisoned by 150% 2 days after Trump said that. That's
Amen.
a fact.
Amen, Mark. Great call, my friend. And I'm with you 100%. And I actually love the sarcasm, by the way. Very good. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Tana, who's next up on PTL. Hi, Tana.
Hey, good to talk to you. I love your show.
Thank you, Tana. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Beaumont, Texas.
Calling from Texas. All right, boy. What's up with your?
And
governor?
I'm a Democrat. Don't fall off your chair.
What's up with Governor Abhole out there in Texas?
I don't know. What I was really calling about, listening to your conversation with your buddy, he seems pretty cool, but he's I don't know, he's wrong. But anyway, I worked as a social worker 27 years, I know where the good policies have come from to help people. I work with veterans. I work with people with mental illness. All of these programs are cut when Republicans come in office. I've seen this through the years.
Yeah.
People don't realize what's going on behind the scenes with policies. And your friend was talking about, he likes his policies. The policies are horrible.
Yeah.
That Trump had. They weren't good policies for the country.
Yeah,
that's what I don't understand.
And I think Mark eloquently brought up the fact that some of the biggest tax breaks for the rich. Look at the debt that he got us in. Look at the handling of COVID. I'm not going to blame him for COVID, but look at how he handled COVID. So you can find a few policies that were good, but I'm not going to sit here and say that Donald Trump's policies were great. Even if you're one of those people that thinks all of his policies were great and you're complicit, does that mean you should still vote for a liable rapist? I mean, it's like I just don't understand how some of these people who I think David's a really nice guy. I just don't understand.
Sure, I have many friends.
Yeah.
That are great people.
Yeah.
And it just baffles me.
Well, here's what they do.
Here's
what they do. They blame Joe Biden for things that are completely out of his control.
Everything.
For example, gas prices, the war in Ukraine, what is going on right now in the Middle East. They'll blame Joe Biden for that. But then when you think of all the crises that we had to deal with under the Trump administration, like COVID, for example, being one of them, or the Black Lives Matter protests, some of them which certainly were violent, they don't put anything on Donald Trump for any of that stuff. So that's a lack of credibility, if you ask me.
It's amnesia, I guess.
Alzheimer's.
I don't know.
They're all in the bunker. They all have Alzheimer's. They're all
I don't understand.
They're all pedophiles. Yeah, that's what the Republicans would say. Anyway, it's good to hear from you. You be well out there in Texas, and you take care of yourself.
Keep doing what you do.
Thank you, dear. I appreciate that. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Tom. Tom is next up on PTL. What's up, Tom?
Tom from Syracuse again.
What's up, Tom?
Hey,
how you doing?
I'm doing good, Brian. Hey, it was a breath of fresh air to hear David on the show, because I wish 99% of the mega supporters were like him, where they just talked about policies instead of, demoralizing people and dehumanizing people, which I heard him say that he didn't find that Joe Biden was a bad guy,
right.
But the only thing I would like to say about what he had said was the correlation between the college riots or college protests or whatever that's going on that's violent, and the correlation between them and Biden. And what about the correlation between January 6th and Donald Trump?
Absolutely.
I think there's a greater correlation there between Trump and what happened there than what happened down in the campus.
Tom, it's a great point, and I was just thinking about that, Tom. Can you imagine if Joe Biden put forth a fake electorate scheme to try to overturn the outcome of an election, and then we had an insurrection, what Republicans would be saying about that? But they all downplay what took place on January 6th. Oh, come on. It wasn't that bad. It was just a riot. You hear excuses that Antifa was involved and these were paid actors and these weren't Trump supporters. And then you have people like Donald Trump who call some of these people hostages and patriots. Can you imagine if a Democrat did that? I mean, I keep saying that over and over again. Imagine if Obama did this. Imagine if Biden did this. Any of the things that Donald Trump has done, whether it be having unprotected sex with a porn star, 2 weeks before an election, but then Bill Clinton has, sex acts on him in the Oval Office when he was president, and Republicans were up in arms over that. Yes, Bill Clinton was impeached for that. And I don't have a problem with that, by the way, but can you imagine if a Democrat did any of these types of things that, that Donald Trump has done? I mean, it's mesmerizing to me. It really is.
Yeah, and the other thing is that I will give credit for that Trump did, in my opinion, two things. He maintained a good economy, and number two, he was very much behind a quick vaccination to get the vaccination out for COVID. So I will give him credit. A lot of people tell me, "Oh, you don't give Donald Trump credit for anything." I'll give him credit for those two things, but the rest of it, he needs to go away.
I agree with you, my friend. Stay safe out there in New York, and I do appreciate your phone call, Tom. Thank you very much. 702-221-SAVE. Again, that number, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. Do you think that Donald Trump should be above the law? Breaking gag order after gag order after gag order. $9,000 in fines. Is that sufficient, or do you think the judge should put him in jail? I don't care whether it helps or hurts him. Put him in jail. Throw the key away, as far as I'm concerned. 702-221-SAVE is the number to call. Let's go to Kava, who's next up on PTL. What's up, Kava?
Hi, Brian. How are you doing today?
Good. What's on your mind, man?
So I would like to respond to what something your guest had said a few minutes ago when he said that Joe Biden doesn't have the Hispanic vote. The fact that he said that is extremely incorrect. I have told my entire home country to vote for Joe Biden because at least Joe Biden's not the one who calls immigrants or Mexicans rapists and all kinds of other stuff. So again, how are immigrants the bad ones again? Because that's a little hypocritical if you ask me.
Yeah.
And the second point I want to make is why would anyone take that guy seriously? Trump literally caused an insurrection, was held liable by a jury of his peers as a rapist, and yet these people still back this guy. It's unbelievable. It makes no logical sense, and it's funny to me because not only has he done it, but he's gone after... Do you remember when Donald Trump said that he wouldn't use the pronouns for LGBTQ people?
I do.
You remember that, Brian?
Yeah, I do.
And yet these people still back that. What is wrong with you guys? Are you kidding me?
There's a lot wrong with a lot of things going on in this country today, Kava, and I appreciate your call. I will say this. I give Donald Trump credit for a few things. One of them is exposing how stupid people are in this country. I mean, the stupidity. And I'm not talking about a guy like a David who I disagree with. I'm talking about people that are so uneducated that they don't even seem to understand who Donald Trump is, the human being. They don't understand basic policy. They don't understand the debt that Donald Trump got us in 4 years. They don't understand the economy that Donald Trump took over. They don't understand the economy that Barack Obama took over in 8 years, where he put it. They don't understand that when we talk about inflation and how much your eggs cost and how much gas is, when you compare the United States of America to some of the other economies and other countries around the world, we are doing better than them. So actually, Joe Biden's policies are working, but they don't understand how an economy works. They don't understand why gas prices are risen. They don't understand why your eggs are more. They don't understand how that could affect a war in the Ukraine or coming out of COVID. They have no basic understanding of how an economy works. But they'll blame Joe Biden for a hangnail. They'll blame Joe Biden for everything. They're brainwashed. They'll listen to Newsmax, which, by the way, news should not be in that name because they're not Newsmax. There's nothing Max about them except fake news, as Donald Trump would say. But if you watch Newsmax every single day and you watch AON and maybe portions of Fox News and idiots like Sean Hannity, because he's an idiot, and the racist Laura Ingraham, if you watch these morons and listen to people like Mark Levin every day, you're going to be brainwashed into thinking that this is the worst economy we've ever had, that Joe Biden is a pedophile, and Donald Trump is clean, his entire family is clean, and it's the Joe Biden crime family. If you watch Newsmax every day, that's what they would lead you to believe, that Donald Trump is doing this because he cares about you, because he cares about the American people. He doesn't care about himself. Yeah, we have audio to play for you when we come back. Donald Trump, again, trying to make him sound like the hero walking out of a courtroom. I'll go to jail for you. Donald Trump hasn't sacrificed anything in his life except a little bit of money so that he can shush up all the women that he banged behind his wife's back. He doesn't care about anybody else but himself. But for the morons out there that think Trump is doing this because he cares about the American people, he didn't even take a salary. But then they don't even understand that he's gotten hundreds of millions of dollars in campaign contributions, that most of that he can keep and put in his back pocket. It's a joke. So there's two different types of Trump supporters. There's Trump supporters I completely disagree with. And then there are other types of Trump supporters that are just idiots that are brain dead. Okay? You know, I think Hillary Clinton called them deplorables. I think that's a good word. Take a quick break, and I have some audio to play for you. Some people within Donald Trump's orbit are claiming that if he goes to jail, it will help him. We have that for you coming up next. We'll take some more phone calls as well at 702-221-7283. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back in 90 seconds. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. You know, no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your people's choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I'm committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com or by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840. Welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Programming note, we got some big guests on the show tomorrow. He's running for president. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. I've been wanting to interview him for a long time. So if you have any questions that you think I should ask him, go on my social media pages and let me know. Drop me an email. But Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to be joining us tomorrow and in studio tomorrow, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. We are going to be talking with Aaron Ford, the Attorney General. So he is going to be joining us in studio tomorrow as well. So I have said this before, and I say again, there are some people out there that think that Donald Trump, there's some good to come out of Donald Trump if he does go to jail. This guy's name is Jack O'Donnell. He is the former president and chief operating officer of Trump Plaza Hotel. Listen to what he had to say.
You know, the bigger question is, will he purposely violate the order? And I think that there is a very good chance that he will, just to test the limits, because that is part of Trump's DNA, so to speak. I think he has a piece inside of him that he wants to dare this man to put him in jail.
So I tend to agree with that from that aspect. I tend to agree that, you know, this could be a positive. It could be a positive thing. Or it's one of those things where Donald Trump is basically testing the judge. So I certainly think that that's a possibility. So I don't necessarily disagree with this. Omarosa, who, as you know from The Apprentice, believes that this could be a positive for Donald Trump if he gets sent to jail.
He's already made the strategic calculation of what being incarcerated or sentenced, even for a short time, would do to his base. It will galvanize his base, and it will feed into this messaging he's been saying that they've been trying to attack him and gag him. And now they have incarcerated me. They've locked me up because of my speaking the truth. And this is what Donald Trump is doing. And in fact, I believe that he's pushing the judge to lock him up so that he can be the victim.
Again, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think Donald Trump wants to be the victim. He wants to be the victim in every situation. It could be the temperature of the courtroom. It could be a number of different things. If you're decided, I would imagine you're probably decided on whether you're going to vote for Donald Trump or Joe Biden by now. I don't think whether Donald Trump goes to jail is really going to change anybody's minds on anything. Is it a positive? I don't know. I mean, I guess there's some idiots out there that could consider him to be some sort of champion. If he goes to jail, he's doing it for you. That's what Donald Trump is doing outside the courtroom, and it's what he did yesterday. Here's Trump saying that he's willing to make a sacrifice for you and go to jail.
Because this judge has given me a gag order and said you'll go to jail if you violate it. And frankly, you know what? Our Constitution is much more important than jail. It's not even close. I'll do that sacrifice any day. But what's happening here is a disgrace, and the appellate courts ought to get involved.
Yeah, it's a disgrace. You're not a disgrace. You sexual abuser, you're not a disgrace at all. You want to talk about a disgrace? Look what took place on January 6th. If Donald Trump is not president of the United States and doesn't lie about the 2020 election, that doesn't happen. Saying you don't respect somebody because they were captured. It's funny, all these MAGAs out there that'll say, "Oh, look at all these charges. It's the Joe Biden DOJ." Okay, even if that was the case, which it's not. What about Donald Trump's behavior? Attacking POWs, attacking Gold Star families, attacking women on looks, the conspiracy theory, saying that members of and I don't defend Ted Cruz, members of his families were responsible for John F. Kennedy Jr.'s assassination. Attacks on minorities. They're rapists, they're bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people, talking about Mexicans. Calling our brave men and women suckers and losers. The comments he made about John McCain alone would be enough, you would think, for people to say, geez, I can't vote for that guy. Look at his behavior. Forget about criminality. Mark my words, Donald Trump is going to be a convicted felon. This is insanity. You want to talk about a disgrace. He is an embarrassment to this country. You want to talk about policy? Sure. Let's talk about policy. Let's have that conversation. What about his behavior? Just throw that off to the side, huh? Focus on Joe Biden. Call him a pedophile. Call the Biden administration, the Biden family, the crime family. Meanwhile, your guy is facing 90 felony counts. You guys are despicable. Speaking of despicable, Lar Trump, who is calling for a MAGA uprising if Donald Trump is put in jail. Have a listen to this.
If they are able to do this to Donald J. Trump, with the ability he has to have the best lawyers in the country, with the ability he has to speak out in the media, if they are able to silence him right now, if this judge actually goes forward and puts him in jail, think about the future for America. It is dark, it is bleak, and I don't think people will react very well to that, Sean.
I don't think people will react very well to that. Oh, are we going to have another January 6th, you dumb idiot? I don't think people are going to react very well to that. Oh, no. I'll react very well to that. I'll be jumping on a trampoline, you stupid moron. I'll be reacting very positively to that because that's where Donald Trump belongs, in a 4x4 cell, the cell that El Chapo had in New York. Put him in there and lock away the key and give him a piece of bread every day. It'll help his health, actually. I'll be jumping for joy. Lara, you don't speak for me, you skank, you. And then there's Jason Miller, The guy who refused to pay child support, by the way. You want to talk about disgrace. But hey, Donald Trump only hires the best people, right? Jason Miller. He's talking about Joe Biden destroying democracy by attempting to jail his political rival. Are people that stupid? See, people are so brainwashed into believing this that somehow Jason Miller making the statement that Joe Biden is the one that's going to throw Trump in jail. You people are so dumb when you believe this moron who fails to pay child support. Listen to this complete idiot, Jason Miller.
Folks, this is crooked Joe Biden's number one issue in the fall, that he is going to protect democracy against the horrors of President Trump and the MAGA Republicans. But if you notice, it's tied. Voters are onto it. And the fact that court today started off with the judge in this race threatening to jail President Trump, the former and future president of the United States. Eric, democracy is done in this country. Democrats have killed it. When you're going to go and try to lock up your political opposition, we're no better than a banana republic or a third world country.
So it's Joe Biden that's attacking democracy now. So I would ask Jason Miller, and of course the idiot that was interviewing him didn't ask him, where's your evidence that Joe Biden's the one that's going to try to put Donald Trump in jail? Where's your evidence? Jason Miller would say, well, it's a liberal judge. No, not evidence-based at all. These people just make claims, they throw stuff at a wall, and they hope it sticks. This has nothing to do with Joe Biden. Joe Biden didn't pick up the phone and say, hey, Mr. Bragg, got to put my political rival in jail. Actually, it was Donald Trump that did that. Do you remember the call he had with Zelensky, the famous phone call? I need you to investigate Joe Biden, his political rival at the time. Is there any audio of Joe Biden doing that? Hey, we need to investigate Donald Trump. Has Joe Biden been caught on a phone call talking to a world leader in another country saying, hey, you need to investigate that guy, Donald Trump? No, it was Donald Trump that did that. Did we see what took place on January 6th? Did we see what happened when Donald Trump lost the 2020 election? Free and fair election, by the way. It was Donald Trump that refused to leave the White House. It was Donald Trump who lied about Democrats stealing the election and Joe Biden being an illegitimate president. January 6th was caused because Donald Trump lied about the 2020 election, and he continues to lie about the 2020 election. Joe Biden is not a threat to our democracy at all. I'm going to ask Robert F. Kennedy Jr. about that tomorrow, because Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has made the claim that somehow Joe Biden is more of a threat to our democracy than Donald Trump. I mean, I couldn't disagree with that more. You can say what you want about Joe Biden's policies. He is not a threat to our democracy. In fact, if anything, Democrats are trying to make it easier for people to vote. Not more difficult for people to vote, easier for people to vote, including minorities in this country. And then there's the racist, evil witch herself, Laura Ingraham. Listen to how Laura Ingraham started her coverage on this gag order and possible jail time. She is such a right-wing buffoon and despicable human being. Her own brother won't even talk to her. Her brother is an open gay man. Her own brother won't even talk to her anymore because she's despicable. This is Laura Ingraham and how she started her coverage on Fox Noise last night in regards to this gag order.
All right, look, I think they're getting to realize that Bragg's case is going south at a pretty decent clip. So they don't really have many options in Manhattan in that court. But one of the few moves they do have on their chessboard involves hitting Donald Trump for violating the unlawful gag order. Well, today, Judge Juan Merchan fined Trump another $1,000, bringing the total up to now $10,000. And then the judge warned that the court may impose a jail sentence going forward, adding this: the last thing I want to consider is jail. You are the former president and possibly the next president. Yay. The magnitude of that decision is not lost on me.
Now, any reasonable human being would say, wow, that's a pro-Trump statement, really. And he's showing that he doesn't take this decision lightly. But Laura Ingraham going after the judge, just like so many MAGA buffoons on the far right continue to do so. They go after Laura Ingraham. Or I'm sorry, they go after the DOJ. They go after the judge. They go after the judge's family, the way Donald Trump did. They go after jurors. Can it just be possible that maybe Bragg did this for political purposes, but Donald Trump also broke the law? Can't both be true? Jack Smith is a lifelong Republican. What's going to be their excuse when it comes to Jack Smith and the classified documents case? What's going to be the excuse there? Jack Smith has prosecuted Democrats. So it's always going to be an excuse with them. There were Democrats that were on the jury. The judge is a liberal. His daughter donated to the Hillary Clinton campaign. It's unjust. It's unlawful. It's too cold in the courtroom. These gag orders, it's freedom of speech. You're going to hear every excuse in the book. Well, here's something for you. Maybe if you're going to run for president of the United States, maybe you shouldn't have all these hush money payments in your closet. Maybe you shouldn't falsify business records. Maybe you shouldn't try to hide something from the American people 2 weeks before an election. Then maybe you wouldn't be put in this situation. Now, I have no sorrow or sympathy for Melania Trump. I never will. Because she cared more about what rugs were in the White House and what toilet seats were in the White House than helping people. But imagine the embarrassment of Donald Trump's family, knowing what Donald Trump did. Now, maybe some of them don't care because they have no moral compass just like him. But imagine what some in his family are going through. Imagine what his son Barron must be thinking, who's done nothing wrong. What a scumbag his father is. It really is sad. We'll take some phone calls on the other side. We're going to take a break first. Number to call, 702-221-7283. Do you think they should send Donald Trump in jail if he breaks another gag order? 702-221-7283. 702-221-SAVE is the number to call. Eva Chase is going to be joining us in studio next. We'll take a quick break. We'll take some phone calls as well on the other side. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you could be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Residents of Las Vegas, Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your people's choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
The London Bridge Resort in Lake Havasu is the perfect place to vacation in style. Their beautifully designed suites include stunning views, a kitchenette, and free Wi-Fi. The well-reviewed and affordable resort has tons of amenities, including a breakfast buffet, kids camp, a 9-hole golf course, 3 pools, a marina, boat tours, a water slide, and a great nightlife scene. London Bridge Resort is centrally located in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Go to londonbridgeresort.com to plan your getaway today. London Bridge Resort, your Arizona oasis destination.
Diners, the Nevada Style Pub invites you to play the best tavern, keno, and video poker in Vegas. Promos are how we roll to make the most of your gaming dollars here with us. Come play our proud partner gaming promotion, Fly Aviators Fly, and receive daily free play, bonuses, and more. With a chance to win awesome brand of prizes and big money for all the jackpots each week. It's not only great gaming that Diners Pub has, it's the 24 awesome rotating draft beers, Vegas' best appetizers to match. So join us in supporting your Las Vegas Aviators, Golden Knights, Lights, Aces, and the Raiders as we make history in Vegas. Diners, the Nevada Style Pub at 8410 West Cheyenne, 1750 North Buffalo, and Las Vegas Boulevard at Windmill. Diners, I love this place.
My name is Kola Akimbade. I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas. As mayor, we will offset the off-season by diversifying our economy, bringing technology, high-paying jobs, and strengthening our entertainment industry. We will give you affordable housing and deliver rent control to all of Las Vegas. In order to tackle this issue of homelessness, we need new money because the budget will never be enough. Therefore, we will legalize prostitution and tax money will flow. Today, go to our website, Kola, K-O-L-A, Kola for Mayor. Again, kolaformayor.com, and my phone number, 725-263-2660. Support our campaign and donate today. Again, kolaformayor.com at 725-263-2660. My name is Kola Akimbade, and I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas.
From Saturday Night Live, TV's Just Shoot Me, Tommy Boy and more, it's comedy great David Spade, live at the Venetian, Friday, July 19th, with special guest Nikki Glazer, one of the funniest female voices in comedy. It's David Spade and Nikki Glazer, live at the Venetian, Friday, July 19th. For tickets and information, call 702-221-1200, 702-221-1200.
Clear Sky Resorts invites you to experience the future of luxury glamping at their newest resort, opening August 1st, 2024 near Bryce Canyon. Guests at the first and only glass-domed stargazing resort in the U.S. will be immersed in the stunning scenery of the resort's private 80-acre canyon, both indoors and out. And nights in your Sky Dome will be like sleeping in an aquarium of stars. Located in Cannonville, Utah, on Scenic Byway 12, voted one of the most scenic roads in America. The resort will feature lots of fun on-resort activities, as well as one of the world's largest glass-domed restaurants. To book your reservation, please call 1-888-704-4445 or visit clearskyresorts.com.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fund account and stay progressive.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. I want to thank my good friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Great gaming bar. And you know, what a great promotion they have in the month of May. If you show your TAM card every Tuesday, today happens to be Tuesday, you just walk in there, you get $50 in free slot play. How cool is, I mean, that's awesome. Sadly, the Pass the Puck contest has ended because the Vegas Golden Knights lost. But that's okay. Show your TAM card. Show me your TAM card. And you'll get $50 in free slot play. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. There have been times in this town where I've gotten like $25 in free slot play, $50 in free slot play. Boom, I hit a royal flush. I walk out with 1,000 cash or more. It is very possible. It can happen. Check them out. Jackson's Barn Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, and tell them I sent you. You know, it is interesting because the right-wing media, which I do talk about a lot, because they'll talk about the left-wing media, they won't talk about Joe Biden's speech today. Or if they do, they'll try to find a moment where he mispronounced something or mumbled something, and they'll say he has Alzheimer's and he's in the bunker. I thought Joe Biden did a great job earlier today condemning the rising tide of anti-Semitism, saying such hate has no place in America. I just thought the president did a really good job in pointing out what is the obvious. Listen, there's always going to be hate. There's always going to be hateful people in this country. But we have to call them out, and we have to call out any type of hatred, any type of bigotry. It could be against the LGBT community. It could be against minorities. In this case, it could be anti-Semitism. I understand that there are a group of people amongst these protesters that are not bad people. I understand that they might be uneducated on some of the issues, but if some people are just going out there to say, listen, innocent people dying, whether it be innocent Palestinian people in Gaza or innocent Israeli people, it's equally as bad. And guess what? I would agree with you. The innocent loss of life is awful. And I know that there are some good people out there that are there for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons. There's no question about that. I would never generalize all these protesters as bad people the way that those on the far right are doing. But yes, there's also a base of people protesting throughout the country that are anti-Semitic, that are agitators. You know, and I don't support that at all. And we shouldn't. And luckily, both sides of the aisle are calling that out with some of these protesters and some of these protests that have turned violent. So, yes. So here's what I want to do. I want to introduce my next guest in studio. And before I do so, I just want to remind all of you, speaking of guests in studio, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not going to be in studio, but we are going to have him on the show tomorrow through Zoom. And Aaron Ford, the Attorney General, is going to be joining us in studio tomorrow. So certainly looking forward to that. But joining us in studio right now, she is running for office in the great state of Nevada. The first time she ran for office, she got over 7,000 votes, which I think is a pretty cool accomplishment. And she is campaigning hard. Of course, I am talking about Eva Chase, who's joining us right now in studio, who just recorded her new commercial, by the way, which I look forward to hearing. Eva, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Hi, Brian. Glad to be here. How are you?
I am doing okay, Eva, and what is a very busy news day, by the way.
Yes, it is.
Let me get your thoughts on some of the big national stories first, if I may. Donald Trump hush money case. What do you make of this case? I would imagine you've been following it a little bit. What are your thoughts? Stormy Daniels took the stand today. Any thoughts on this case in general?
Well, first of all, I think that Donald Trump is getting a major pass in all of his legal cases. The judicial system has been very lenient, and that's being generous. And anybody that has broken a gag order at least 10 times, as he has, if it were you and I, we would be in jail.
I agree. So I just said that, by the way.
Yes.
I literally just said what you said.
Yes.
I agree 100%.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. And I believe at the end of the day, he will be convicted of illegal, well, I guess,
misappropriation of funds.
Misappropriation of government and campaign funds. And I think he'll be charged, and I think he deserves jail time for that.
I don't think he's going to get jail time, but I do think some of the other cases are probably a little bit more serious. But I agree with you. And breaking these gag orders, which he's done over 10 times now, right, is absolutely insane. What do you make of these protests, which we've been talking about a lot on this show, across the country on college campuses? Some people will define it as pro-Palestinian. And there are some people that are not bad people that are protesting. There's no question about that. I just said that on the air. But there are also a very bad element of people as well that are anti-Israel, What do you make of what's going on throughout the country right now? And do you feel like these universities should help assist some of these people who happen to be pro-Hamas?
I believe that we do have the right to protest within reason, of course. You don't burn stores, you don't break Capitol buildings, you don't break in and ask, where's Nancy?
Right.
All that stuff, like what happened on
Mhm.
January 6th.
Right.
However, I had a conversation with a couple of students over at CSN at a candidate meet and greet at the end of April, and they asked me my position on this situation with the Palestine and Israel. And this was my answer. I believe there should be an immediate ceasefire, and although the United States is pro-Israel, I think that with these protests, they are coming straight out and saying, honestly, Brian, I think what Israel is doing over in Gaza is as worse or as bad as Hamas did to the Israel's folks.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, we should have an immediate ceasefire, and once that happens, all the hostages are returned to where they're supposed to go, and at that time, the United States can provide money to help Israel and make sure that the two get together and have a two-state solution. But until then, we should not be supporting what Israel is doing over in Gaza.
So let me ask you a question then in regards to that. We might disagree with this. I
Mhm.
don't know. But after, and we agree, Hamas, terrorist organization, right? October 7th, despicable, horrible day.
Yes.
How do you think Israel should respond then when members of Hamas are infiltrating themselves within innocent people in Gaza? What is Israel supposed to do? That would be my question. If you don't like the way, and listen, I think it's very fair to criticize the Israeli government. I don't have a problem with that. But my question is, if there is criticism, how should Israel respond to it then if you don't like what they're doing now?
They need to try to vet people if possible, which is kind of hard to do when you're going in to eradicate.
And you serve the country, so you would know a little bit about this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you have. I would do a background check on people, and if you suspect that they are part of the Hamas regime, then what you do is you just bring them in, do a background check on them. If they're clean, you let them go.
But I hear what you're saying, but these people, they behead babies, they throw them in ovens, they rape children, they cut off their limbs. You know, these are people that have, obviously, they're very dangerous people.
Yeah.
Very difficult to do. Very difficult to do that. I wish it could be done. I don't want innocent loss of life anywhere, just like you don't, right?
Right.
But even if you agree or disagree with how Israel's responding to this, I think it's important to note, and you tell me if you disagree or not, Hamas started this.
Yes.
They've been a terrorist organization since the mid-'80s. They decided to kill a bunch of innocent people just for the sake of doing so. They don't care about innocent Palestinians as well, as you know.
Right.
I think they wanted this chaos. They wanted it. They wanted people to die. They wanted not just Jewish people to die. They wanted Palestinians to die as well. They use innocent Palestinians as human shields. And I think it's important, even if we have disagreements on how Israel's responded, which I think are fair conversations to have, I think it's important to note how this started. And that's Hamas. And I think we all, as a world, need to come together and say Hamas needs to be destroyed. And that's my frustration with some at these protests that seem to be either pro-Hamas, calling them, you know, freedom fighters, which is absurd.
No,
and then people like Ilhan Omar or Rashid Tlaib. I think these are just not very intelligent and bad people. That's what I think. You know, I don't know what your thoughts are on Ilhan Omar. I know you're running as a Democrat.
Yes.
But I call it as I see it. I think Ilhan Omar is despicable.
Well, on this issue, I think she's off base. As much as I disagree with the way Israel is responding, Hamas did start it, and they are bad people. So the people in Palestine, they're also victims.
Yeah.
And Hamas needs to be eliminated, but I don't necessarily completely agree with the way Israel is doing it. There could be other ways, but the way they're doing it right now, not completely.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's plenty of criticism to go around with Netanyahu, and I
Oh, yeah.
understand that. But here's the way, and again, you tell me what your thoughts on this. But the way I describe this war is simple, right? At least in my opinion. If Israel today decided to put their hands up and drop all their weapons, stop defending their country, what would happen? Israel would be wiped off the face of the earth. Iran, it'd be gone. Israel would cease to exist. If Hamas puts their weapons down, releases all the hostages, the war is over. There will be no more bombings, at least not from Israel. No more innocent people will have to die. To me, that is the fundamental difference in this war. If Hamas just raises the white flag, which they won't do, but if they did, these conversations would be over. If Israel raises the white flag, which, by the way, I don't think they should do either, Israel is gone. The country is gone. And I think that is the fundamental difference between both sides here. And I'll put Iran in there as well. I just think that's, I don't know if you agree with that, but I just feel like that's the fundamental differences here between both sides here.
Oh, well, you're right. Israel is like the cowboy wearing the white hat.
Yeah.
And Hamas is wearing the cowboy wearing the black hat. And like I said before, I don't agree with everything Israel's doing in responding, but Hamas is the aggressor, and they need to be eliminated. And
no question.
The best way possible that will eliminate less human tragedies, casualties, and heartache for everybody.
Would you agree with me, though, that Israel is not committing genocide? There are a lot of protesters across the country that believe that Israel is intentionally committing genocide. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think they're intentionally committing genocide. I think that, unfortunately, there are innocent people there that happen to be there when Israel is going through their military operations. And unfortunately, if you go, which a lot of our younger viewers don't remember this, but I had brothers in the Vietnam War. And yes, civilians were killed in Vietnam when there were military operations going on as well. And unfortunately, when there is a military conflict, you will have civilian casualties. No matter how careful you are, you will have them. That's why, like Ulysses S. Grant said back in the 1860s, war is hell.
Yeah, no, it is, and you've been in it, right? I mean, you served, which I tremendously respect. Anybody, a hero who served this country honorably, and you're the type of person that I want representing me, even if we might not agree on every single policy. You served this country honorably, and I think that's it's more than I can say for Donald Trump. At least as I dislike Ron DeSantis, I'll always respect his service to this country, right? Let me ask you, speaking of service, let me ask you this. So Aaron Ford is going to be joining me in studio tomorrow, the Nevada Attorney General. He doesn't do a lot of interviews, and I really appreciate the fact that he's coming in, along with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's going to be joining me on the show tomorrow. So tomorrow's a big show. I'm going to be asking him a little bit about January 6th. I'm going to be asking him about this alleged fake electorate scheme by these 5 people in Nevada, including the Republican chair, Mike McDonald, and Jesse Law, who I think are despicable people. I've said that time and time again. What do you make of that? What do you make of, this is unprecedented territory that we're in, where you have really people across the country that at the hands of Donald Trump, who I believe orchestrated these fake electorate schemes. What would you talk to Aaron? I keep calling him Aaron Ford. What would you talk to him about that? Is the democracy stuff important to you as it is for me? I would imagine it is. You serve this country. What do you make of that? And what would you talk to Aaron Ford about?
I would remind him that in any election, as in our day-to-day life, as a veteran, I fought for this country so we could have democracy. And part of our democracy are free and fair elections. Now, when I ran for lieutenant governor, I wasn't close to winning in my primary, but I didn't go out and say that the election was fake. I didn't say it was a fraud.
Right.
I took my lumps. I learned from it. Now I'm running for District 16 in the state assembly. It's a learning experience. And not everybody's going to win an election. So when you throw your hat in the ring, if you lose, you try to do better next time and learn from your mistakes. Maybe somebody's just better than you, or maybe people don't agree with your policies. And there's some things that you just can't control. But if you lost, you don't put fake electors in there to try to rig the election so you don't lose. And if they did commit a crime, by golly, they should be charged with it. And if there's jail time, lock them up.
Yeah, no question about that. What would you say as someone who served, to other brave men and women who served, that are willing to vote for a guy who called people like you suckers and losers? He said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured. Oh, yeah, by the way, he also dodged the military multiple times. I don't understand how, even if you're a staunch Republican, if you don't want to vote for Joe Biden, fine. I might disagree with you on that, but okay, fine. You don't want to vote for Joe Biden, fine. How could you vote for a guy who called you a sucker and a loser for serving? I don't understand that. It drives me crazy, Eva. It drives me nuts.
Well, I can't answer for every veteran out there. But I think if the veterans out there would listen to what I'm about to say, if you go back a few years ago when we had a government shutdown of 35 days, it was called the Trump shutdown.
Yeah.
During that time frame, military personnel were not being paid, but they were still defending our country.
Right.
Now, as a veteran, and now if I were on active duty now, and someone asked me, would I vote for Trump? I would say no. One, he is a 5-time draft dodger.
Right.
And he claimed that he had, I don't know, was it shin splints or
bone spurs?
Bone spurs,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
Yes, and I think that anybody who's a draft dodger would not get my vote. But for veterans that want to vote for him, I would say, why? What has he done for you? Did he vote to give you a pay raise? Did he vote to help you with your benefits? Did he help to vote to approve abortion for your spouse in the military system?
Right.
No, he did not. He put 3 conservative judges on the Supreme Court.
Correct.
And they overturned Roe versus Wade. And that's why abortion is probably the #1 issue in this year's election.
I'm glad you brought that up, because if it's not the #1 issue, it certainly is the #2
Yes.
issue. And, you know, I
Yes.
have Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's going to be joining me on the show tomorrow. And this is a question I'm going to ask him respectfully. I appreciate the fact that he's willing to come on this show, as I appreciate anybody who I might disagree with that's willing to come on the show and have a discussion. I will always treat them with respect, and I'm sure he'll treat me with respect as well. But this is a question I'm going to ask him, and you just brought it up. What are the top issues that so many voters, not just in the state of Nevada, but throughout the country, want to talk about? They want to talk about the economy, right? Putting food on the table for their family. Abortion is usually, if it's not the first issue, it's the second issue. And I've seen Robert F. Kennedy Jr. speak multiple times in Vegas, right? And he talks more about COVID and the vaccines than those 2 issues. And I'm going to ask him why. Because as an independent, I don't want to hear about the vaccines from somebody who's not a doctor. I don't want to hear from Rand Paul either, who's an eye doctor. I want to hear from infectious disease experts and people that really know what they're talking about, with all due respect to him. But I want to hear Joe Biden talk more about the economy. I want to hear him defend his record, which I think he can. And I know Democrats have been hammering home the abortion issue, and rightfully so, right? I mean, what happened in Arizona is, and I know they just overturned it, but you want to talk about crazy people on the Supreme Court in Arizona, in Alabama, and quite frankly, the Brett Kavanaughs of the world. I mean, these are crazy people. Clarence Thomas, who should never been a Supreme Court justice to begin with. He's despicable. His wife is a Looney Tune crackhead. But, you know, make no mistake about it, right? You mentioned it. The reason why this happened, because Donald Trump and who he put on the Supreme Court. You're absolutely right. And now he has to own it. And I think if he does lose the election, it could be for a number of different issues. This is certainly one of them, right?
You're right, because he ran He said he would overturn Roe versus Wade. Now he's trying to throw it back on the states, let the states decide.
Right.
Well, the Republican states are mucking it up. And it's just terrible. And for me, as a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, one of the first things I'm going to do is try to push to codify abortion into our Constitution. Now, there is an initiative to put that on the ballot this year. And if it passes, it will become part of our Constitution. But as of now, abortion is not part of our Constitution, which means Governor Lombardo, who is a Republican, and let's just say Republicans get control of the state assembly and the Senate, and Lombardo's governor, they could put an abortion restriction right here in our state.
Yeah.
15 weeks, or that sorry 6-week thing that's just went into effect in Florida that Ron DeSantis put in there.
Yeah.
We don't want that here.
Yeah.
We need to have women have the right to choose, and that's one thing I will push for.
Yeah, that's important.
Yes.
That's important. Isn't it interesting when Trump says, well, we're just going to leave it up to the states? That doesn't mean every voter in every state's going to have an opportunity. They didn't do that in Arizona.
No.
It was the wacky conservative right-wing MAGA Supreme Court that did that.
Yes.
So when you say leave it up to the states, that doesn't always mean everybody has their right to vote on it, right?
No, not at all.
Isn't that a misconception?
Totally a misconception, yes.
And everybody thinks, I shouldn't say everybody, but some people think, oh, well, it's left up to the states. I'll have my say. I'll have my vote. That's not what took place in Arizona. It's not. How about the Looney Tunes in Alabama? That bill that the Supreme Court put forth, it's insanity.
Yes.
And slowly but surely, these dumb Republicans, because that's what some of them are, dumb Republicans, they didn't understand that it would backfire, that over 60% of people in this country believe in a woman's right to choose. And then they want to, like the Marco Rubios of the world, they want to talk about late-term abortion as if women in their 9th month or 10th month are saying, hey, you know what? I don't think I'm going to have that baby. What percentage of women are doing that? It's almost never happening.
Yes.
But yet they want to emphasize that. And yes, most people in this country, including Democrats, do not believe in late-term abortion unless it's the health of the mother. What do you know of one person, one woman that got an abortion because, she just didn't feel like having the child in the 9th or 10th month?
Nope.
I mean, it's not even a thing, and it's like, and they call Planned Parenthood a bunch of murderers. It's like, the rhetoric of some of these people. But anyway, I can go on and on about that, Eva.
You got that.
I like your campaign poster that you got sitting over there.
Oh, do you mind if I pick it up?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's very, very cool. Look at the camera there and show it. I like it. So Eva is running for Nevada State Assembly, as you can see. And this is a situation where there's a lot of different people running, a lot of different candidates, both Republicans and Democrats. Before we end the interview, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about why you ran, how people can support you, where do people go to learn more about you?
All right. First of all, the reason why I'm running is because I am a Democrat with progressive ideas. And just a couple of them that I want to share with everybody.
Sure.
Is that as a fully trans woman and a veteran, I'm going to fight to defend our democracy. Also, I believe in student debt reduction and forgiveness.
As do I.
Yes, and I also believe a woman has a right to choose.
Yes.
And other progressive ideas. I don't believe that Nevada has become progressive enough. And my opponent, incumbent Cecilia Gonzalez, is not progressive enough. So that's why I am running to make Nevada more. I am a Democrat, but I'm a progressive, and I believe that it can help and benefit everybody. The way you can find me is if you go on, there's a pretty long list, so I'll make it
That's
quick.
okay. Go ahead. Take your time.
I'm on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, Ballotpedia, Blue Voter Guide. I will be in the Review Journal Voter Guide coming out May 17th. I'm in Q. I'm in Q magazine with the publications in there. I'm also on this great radio station, KSHP, with Brian, of course, and they run my commercials. I'll be also on Jammin' 105.7 starting the middle of May.
Good.
KSKOAS.
Cool.
And I'm making multiple public appearances. So if you want to see me in person, just a couple that are coming up. I'll give you the big ones.
Yep.
One would be tomorrow at the Lambda LGBTQ luncheon over on Maryland Parkway. Also, I'll be at the Mixer the following night. On the 14th, I will be with the Clark County Women's Democrats. And I'll be with Gay Men's Group on the 22nd at the center doing a speech. And on December 29th, I'll be at the Women's Decision Makers.
You're all over
Breakfast.
the place. You're all. Well, when you're campaigning hard, that's what you got to do. You got to work
Yes,
hard.
I'm all over the place, not counting even June.
I appreciate you doing that, and I appreciate you being here. And I always love talking with you, Eva, and you certainly have my full support, as you know.
Thank
so
you.
I appreciate you being here. We'll talk to you again soon, of course, and wish you luck with the rest of your campaign. And appreciate you being here.
Appreciate
And-
it. Everybody,
yes,
stay
thank you.
progressive. Remember, Eva Olivia Chase, State Assembly District 16.
That's right. That's right. I'm pulling for you, Eva. And before we go, a quick programming note. Excited to have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. joining us on the show tomorrow. And another big guest tomorrow, the current Attorney General in the great state of Nevada. He indicted 5 people in that alleged fake electorate scheme. I'm certainly going to ask him about that. Aaron Ford's going to be joining us in studio, so we'll talk to him as well. Thanks all of us for tuning in. I appreciate all of you, and thanks to David Pollock, who joined us today as well. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.
David Paul.